I'm Dr. Marvin Dunn. I graduated from Morehouse in 1961. I'm a retired professor of psychology from Florida International University. Morehouse was the first place that someone called me Mr. I was 17 years old when I got to Morehouse, and I was being called Mr. by the professors. And each time that would happen, I'd look around for my dad. Mr. Dunn was my father. I got that respect when I got to Morehouse. It shaped me in terms of my values. For example, we were taught by Dr. Mays and others about power. We were taught that some of us may become very powerful, very influential, very rich. Morehouse men become powerful. But we were taught, don't use power just because you have it. Don't flaunt power just because you have it. And when I see people abusing power like that, that's very unlike the values that I got at Morehouse College from Dr. Mays. I think the Bennie Award is the best recognition I could possibly get for my work. I'm not all that high on awards, but this one is very, very special. So I'm very appreciative of it. And it makes me realize that my work has not been in vain. For it to be recognized at this level is a very, very high honor. Service is doing good work and not expecting or even wanting something for it. What drives me is the need to spread the truth, particularly now in my state, where the truth is being so suppressed in terms of our history. I'm driven to tell the truth about the parts of history, Florida Black history, that right now the state does not want taught. And that motivates me to do all that I can to make sure that it is taught. My training and work in racism was influenced by my very childhood, by the very way in which I was raised. I was a child of Jim Crow. I'm one of those people who had lived long enough to remember having to go to the back doors of white people's homes, having to walk to the back of the bus with my mom squeezing my hand until we got to a seat that she felt comfortable. I lived all of that. And just because they passed some laws in the 60s saying, okay, we're all equal now, I never felt that way. And Morehouse made me realize that my race, my manhood was important and stand up for those two things. And I've tried to do that. I founded the Dr. Marvin Dunn Academy for Community Education following the 1980 riot because I was on the street. I saw who was out there, and a lot of them were kids. And it seemed to me that there was something missing in their education such that they could do that kind of damage. And I wanted to see if I could have a school that could be more effective in holding on to kids and getting them out of school than was happening in the county. And that's why we founded that school. It became one of the most effective alternative schools in the state of Florida, and it still stands that well a reputation today. Injustice is still a part of American life. It hasn't gotten all that much better. When people take to the streets in riots, it's not because of not having jobs or not having recreational facilities. It's because of incidents of injustice. And we must become a more just nation if we want to become a more peaceful nation in terms of the races trying to get along together and exist in America. We must confront racism. The Teach the Truth tours that I've started go to places in Florida where the blood was shed in race violence. I take high school students and college students to these places. We pay all of the expenses. My nonprofit, the Miami Center for Racial Justice, pays all of the expenses on this 2-day trip to take young people with a parent or a grandparent, and now college students as well, to these places. Because to really understand the suffering, the history of Black people in Florida, you have to go and walk the ground where people suffered and died. That puts people in touch with the feelings of history, with the emotion of history, not just what you read in a book. So these tours were intended to have people become aware of what happened, why it happened, and to connect with the people who suffered during these incidents. That's why we go. And when we get to these graves and to these sites, and these are racially mixed groups, I ask the kids, are you angry? Do you feel guilty? And I never get any of that back from the kids. We've done a dozen of these tours. What I get back is, Dr. Dunn, they should have taught us this in school. We should have known about this before we came up here on this trip. There's a hunger for the true history of Black people in this country. The Teach the Truth tours that we've been doing in Florida are now being expanded thanks to a Mellon Foundation grant, $1.5 million over 3 years, to take these tours now to Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, to have people in those states take tours to those places in those states where these things happen. So that was a very, very big contribution to our work from the Mellon Foundation. And we've now started in Georgia, and in March we'll be in Alabama. I'm Dr. Marvin Dunn, the 2025 winner of the Bennie Award in Service. Thank you, Morehouse.